Art Attack Radio with Lisa Baker and Staci Dawn.
Hi, I'm Lisa Baker.
And I'm Staci Dawn. And you're listening to Art Attack Podcast, the show where we amplify the arts through community, connectivity, and the creative spirit. And we've got a great show lined up for you today. We are going to do a deep dive into the NOTO Arts and Entertainment District and talk about the history and what the Arts District does for the community of Topeka, Kansas. But before we do that, I thought we could have a little bit of a sharing session.
Sure, I love to share.
Yeah, me too. So it's a really beautiful day outside right now. It is hot, yeah. We're creeping up on 90 degrees already. We're recording now, it's like 10 in the morning, but it's supposed to get to 95 today, which we're used to this like hot extreme temperatures in Kansas, but it's also kind of hard when you're out there doing like outdoor arts and it's the outdoor season. Yeah, it is hot today. So, but we're not going to let that stop us because we are here to talk about some great things today. So, Lise, what have you had any like updates or any fun things going on lately that you've been doing?
Yeah, I've been doing lots of fun things, productive things and not so fun things, but I'll just share about probably the one that was fun and productive. And that was I completed a large outdoor installation of a basket at the Kansas Children's Discovery Center, and it's at the entrance to the center and to the pollinator garden. So it's on a big wood frame, and it was woven with fire hose that was donated by, I'm going to say it was donated by Rudy and Ma Wass's family, the orangutans at the Topeka Zoo and Conservation Center.
Oh, that is so cool.
But actually the zoo and the keeper donated it, but I think Rudy may have had to give permission for that. So. But the fire hose, it's used by the orangutans, they can swing on it like they do trees, and it's very, very, very durable. And I thought, well, if the orangutans can swing on it, surely kids can play with it, right? It should be.
Yeah, right.
So it's woven with that permanently, but there's two sections that are free flapping. So that kids can weave and unweave it and weave and unweave it and kind of learn the concept of weaving. And before I even finished it, they were already doing that. Every time I would come back, kids had wove all around with it. So it was kind of natural. They didn't really have to be told what to do. And then it's painted in the colors of Kansas and the Topeka flag in the blue and yellow. And it's huge. It's huge. It's a huge basket.
Yeah. So I had a chance to see this. I went to your opening, which was fabulous. I was surprised at how big it was too. Like you could literally get inside of this basket.
Easy.
Yeah. So did you struggle with anything in that creation process because it was so much bigger than what you're used to working with?
Yeah, the technique was exaggerated. So when I go the first row and I come around to the second row and using natural materials, it automatically just kind of turns.
Yes.
But this, I had to physically turn the fire hose, and they're really, really heavy. They're not just that canvas on the outside, but they have a rubber liner inside. So it's really, and I worked my muscles up on that basket for sure. That was probably the biggest. That and painting it afterwards. Normally you would dye the materials before you weave, but so the painting process took the longest.
So I loved the story that you told about the little portion of the basket that you didn't paint.
Yes.
Because of the spider. Why don't you
the spider?
Tell us about that.
Yes, I have my Cherokee Nation weaving national holiday. Last year the theme was weaving community together, and they used the spider. Oops, I just hit my mic. Sorry, everybody, your ears went. So they used the spider for the weaving. Our traditional story about the very first basket is, it's a long story and I won't tell it right now, but it's about the water spider who goes out to collect some fire from the island to bring it back to the animals for warmth and light. Because none of the animals could figure out how to bring the fire back without burning themselves. But she wove a little basket. It was still attached to her, and she swam back over the water and dragged the basket over. So as I was painting a portion, all of a sudden I noticed something up at the top, and I looked, and there was this little spider weaving a web coming down. And so I didn't paint where she was because I figured she was making a basket there, and that was her contribution. And, so they asked me at the Discovery Center to show them where that spot was so they wouldn't touch it up.
Oh, see, I think that's just such a sweet story of just, how nature and how, humans connect and come together. And I love that you shared that. So very cool. So I haven't had like as much exciting things as you going on
I bet.
right now, which is okay because last month was very busy, but we are gearing up for this next summer concert series that we're doing this Friday, which keeps me pretty busy, just planning for that. And I love this summer concert that we do. We do these summer concerts from May through September in the Redbud Park in Noto. And they're every third Friday. But the great thing that I love about this is that it's an opportunity to connect youth musicians with, professional musicians who've been doing it for a while, because we always have a youth opener before the main headliner comes on.
Oh, I bet they love that.
They do love it. And of course, my job, it's very important for me to make sure that artists and musicians are getting paid for their time and the work that they do. So not only do these kiddos get an opportunity to perform in front of a bigger crowd and have that whole backstage experience and sound check and everything, they also get paid for their time, which is really great for that whole experience and giving them a taste of what it's like to be a musician. So
get some fresh strings that way.
Yeah. So last month we had a great concert with Carswell and Hope, and we have some footage of that we can show. But we also this month are bringing in Haymakers, which is like a strings band combination, right? And they do a lot of different styles of music. They're out of Wichita, so I'm excited to listen to them and see what they have to bring that's new to this community. So part of the reason why I love doing these concerts also is because we're bringing in regional musicians that maybe Topeka hasn't heard of before, and exposing them to different kinds of music than the traditional music that we always hear when we're going out, for a drink or something. So yeah, I'm excited about that. Which is a good segue into kind of like all of the things that the Arts and Entertainment District does.
Yeah,
here
you
in
name
Topeka.
it, it's here.
Yeah, it really is. We started out as this idea in the community back in 2010. And that was kind of it was actually a vision through this organization called Heartland Visioning. And they surveyed the community and, wanted to find out what was important to the people of Topeka, because they were looking to make some changes in our city. So that survey result came back and showed that they wanted an arts and entertainment district, and they wanted a vibrant downtown. And so both of those efforts have been happening over the last decade and longer to make that happen. But I have been knee-deep in the development of the Arts District since the very beginning. So it was in 2011 when I moved into my first studio space down here. And that was a year after they had their first opening for a First Friday Art Walk.
Where was your first space?
So my first space was located with Shelley Bedsole, and she was an artist that was already established in the district. She had moved in years before and opened up her art space. And so she was already, this was already an idea that she had when she, moved in. She thought this would be a great space for an arts district. So she was kind of ahead of the game in that regard. But I moved in, so she had a gallery on the bottom floor and some studio spaces that were available on the top floor. So I moved into what used to be her kitchen area.
Oh, wow.
Which was great for me because I had a sink and it had everything that I needed for creating. And I was there for a couple of years, bounced around to some different places over the years because as an arts district is growing, or any district in any community that's opening up small businesses, and you got people that are taking on new ventures but aren't really sure how it's going to go, you see a lot of turnover sometimes until businesses get established. And so we had businesses that would come in and tough it out for a couple of years and then decide that they were ready to move on to something different. And when that happened, then you were forced to kind of move out of your space. So Shelley decided to close down her studio space, and I made a transition into another space. And during that time, it was great because it gave an opportunity, and I wasn't just the only one that was like having to move in and out of spaces, but during that time, like you were always thinking about like, what can I do next that's going to be better than what I did before?
Yeah. As soon as you move in, you start thinking about next.
Yeah. And so it was like, how can I elevate this space to be a better art space than what I had in the past? And so over the years, I've had probably 5 different locations in the arts district, and every one just kept getting better and better. And it was a great growth time for the district during that time, because not only was I elevating the spaces that I was in, but also other businesses that were moving into a previous established location was elevating that space to fit their needs. And so we just constantly kept seeing that evolution of change happen down there. So it was in like 2017, so like 7 years after I first moved in, I decided to open up a space. Actually, I think it was closer to 2018. Open up a space on a first floor main location, and had a business partner that worked with me, and we opened up what was at the time like the largest gallery in the district, and it was called 39 West. And I loved that because it gave me an opportunity to really focus on like elevating the arts in this area, working with artists and giving them opportunities to show. And
so that name is really unique, and a lot of the galleries and studios and places in Noto have unique names, and it'd be neat to explore those. But where did your name come from? The address didn't have 39 in it, did it?
The geographical coordinates had 39 in it. So I wanted it to be unique and also kind of feel, more artsy, like, like, oh, you wouldn't hear about a gallery like this in Topeka. And that was the vibe that I was going for. So it was such a great experience to work with all of those artists. And it really helped to open up the connections that I was making with the arts scene here in Topeka. And a lot of those artists that I worked with back then, I'm still working with today at the Art Center.
So you said at the time it was the largest gallery in the district. How many other galleries were there? Were people starting the idea?
No, so we had multiple galleries that popped in and out over the years. And I would say between 2010 and 2020, we probably had upwards of like 15 different galleries over that time that came and went. But for a long time, we had a handful of those galleries that were really like staple galleries in the district. We had Studio 831 with Barbara Waterman Peters and her group of artists. And actually, Barbara was one of the first artists who relocated into the district. So moved her studio space into Noto, set up opportunities for artists to come in and work with her. And it was great in the early years, like the evolution of watching these old rundown buildings get new life in them, and see artists that were working out of these spaces, and even like upstairs lofts. And, you could come down and you would not only venture to like all of the first floor locations, but you would go up to the second floor locations also. So the arts district, was going through this period of change between 2010 and 2015. And the organization was also trying to like establish the roots and determine like what was the purpose of the NOTO organization. And so they took the initiative to like established their own 501c3, really like formed a board and organized like their mission and their goals for an organization. They had established an art center, and they decided that, you know, they were going to do some art classes and some community engagement with that, and then also have a place for like board meetings and things like that. So they also, at the time, took the initiative of putting together a master plan. So brought in a consultant and really like tried to figure out what was the vision for the future of NOTO, right? So working with that company, the Lamont company, they established like future goals. You know, housing was put into that, like pocket parks were goals, you know, like some economic development things, but really it kind of solidified like what was the purpose of the arts organization, right? At the same time, there was a wonderful gift that was given to the organization from the Teeter family. So Stan and Jody Teeter, which have been instrumental in like multiple projects throughout our community, took the initiative to purchase the old post office that was up for sale, and they donated it to the organization so the organization could have their own art center and call it their own. So we spent a couple of years renovating that space, and then the organization moved into the building in like 2017.
It's a really beautiful space, and I've heard some great stories about the renovation process. And, you know, when you walk in, it still has the historic feeling, but it's also been modernized, but in a very tasteful way. You know, and I was really surprised to find out how many people actually put their own sweat and blood into doing that, and that it wasn't like a big company that came in and renovated it.
Yes, you know, at the time there was a lot of volunteers that were helping the organization grow. You know, I was not a part of that process of renovating the art center, but you know, artists and business owners down there in the district always were working together to try to see the vision of the Arts District come true. And so it wasn't uncommon to see like Studio 831 artists down there helping with the renovations. I know Michael Bradley and Larry Peters, High Stockwell, like they were all very involved in helping renovate that spaces, bringing in community partners like Washburn Tech. And so, yeah, it was a big volunteer effort to get that done. And I think that lent to the community that we have down in the district, you know, and there was a lot of like blood, sweat, and tears in the early years to try to see that change. But it wasn't just in the art center, like it was everywhere. It was in all of those businesses down there. You'd see a business owner move in and they were, you know, taking the initiative to dig out the flood mud from the basements still, and you know, putting in structural supports and just really like taking over some big projects. And so thankfully, like all of that led to this like bigger sense of community pride down there in the district. And I think that helped and still has helped today to get us to where we are. So backtracking into the renovations of the art center, we opened as an art center in 2018. The organization took the initiative to, you know, hire on an executive director. I served on the board for a little while before I actually like rolled into my position as at the time, program coordinator. And then during that time, I also decided to close down my gallery space, 39 West, because I knew that this was more important, right? And that was a hard decision because I loved that gallery, but I knew like this was necessary to help, again, like rise up the arts in our community, which was the number one goal. In like 2018, at the time that we had hired our director, Habitat for Humanity had taken the initiative to move into the district also, and they acquired this big portion of land, which also included another portion of the block that used to belong to, I think it was White Star. And they did not really need that property, and they didn't know what to do with it. And it was like a rundown parking lot. It really was not appealing at all.
Mm-hmm.
But in our master plan that was developed, we had determined that we wanted to build an art park. So Habitat for Humanity donated this land to the organization.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really it was a wonderful opportunity for the arts district to grow, but it also created this problem of like, how are we going to raise the funds to build an art park, and what did that look like, and everything that goes into building a park, and who really thinks that an arts organization is going to be knee deep in building parks, right? So we, as an organization, put a capital campaign together, raised $1.3 million to build the park. And in 2019, we broke ground, and we actually opened the park at the end of 2019, which was really kind of a crazy time because COVID hit then a few months later, right? And at that time, I was already working full-time for the organization. And we were really trying to think outside of the box of what we could do to continue our arts programming, utilize this park that we had just built, this beautiful park, and not lose the momentum of the arts district, right? And at this time, we were 10 years old. So we started planning an outdoor 10-year birthday party. So it was called the Decade of NOTO. Capitalized on the fact that this was an art park outside, and everybody was going to these outdoor programs, right? And so we really started thinking about what does that entail? So it was putting music in the park, having yoga in the park, having poetry in the park, all of these things that we could bring people down to this beautiful art park, this natural space for people to still feel connected, still feel like they're being creative, and still have that sense of community when it still felt like you couldn't do that, So it really worked in our benefit that we got the park built right at that time. So that kind of had a catapult effect then. We had the park, we started doing this outdoor programming, we had markets in the park. And then as we transitioned out of COVID, we still realized the importance of utilizing this park as an outdoor space. So that changed everything for us as an organization, because not only now were we focused on utilizing this art center as a public space for art, but now we are also focused on utilizing the Redbud Park. And so we really started thinking about how can we provide more to the community? How can we elevate the arts in Topeka and, meet our goals and mission of, being a vibrant arts district?
Yeah.
So we really just kind of dove knee deep into everything we could possibly think of. At one time, we were doing over 50 events in Redbud Park, and that was just kind of crazy. That was everything from having a market every Saturday for artists to letting organizations come in and utilize the park. And then we were also working on elevating the art center.
Yeah. And this is still with the staff of?
So in the early years when I started, there was just two of us. So we had our governing board, and then we had the executive director and myself. And so for about 2 years, it was just Tom and I.
Goodness.
And COVID was very hard for a lot of people, but it came with some struggles for our organization too, because staff had to take some time off. We did have a part-time maintenance person, and we were lucky to also have a part-time SIR participant helping to fill some of those shoes and keep the art center open. But everybody kind of had some of their own personal struggles, and so staff support was very thin at that time. But once we got past COVID, and everybody kind of came back into the office, and we were doing all of these events and have all this programming going on, we were able to hire some more support staff over the years. So that gave us the opportunity to then focus on the art center too, and we didn't have robust programming going on in the art center. We had the Morris Gallery, which you know very much about the Morris Gallery because you helped curate it now. But we were doing everything we could to at least make sure that we had one exhibit going every month inside of the art center, right? And then an occasional class here and there that would happen, but mostly the art center was being utilized for just administrative purposes. And then a couple of years back, we decided that we were going to take the initiative to renovate the basement.
Yes.
And I love the fact that we leaped into this project because it has been a game changer for the art center itself.
It's brought life into it.
It has. And because you rented some studio space out of the basement for a while, just how much change it brought to the art center, bringing people inside, getting them more involved. Because for a while, we would get visitors every once in a while, and they would say, "Oh, I didn't know this was an art center."
All the time, yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was just the old post office still, and nothing was happening. But so we have, over the last couple of years, seen like an increase of visitors to the art center now that we've got more robust programming happening there. So we evolved from just being an administrative location with a gallery into being a fully functioning art center. And we have now an artist co-op in the basement.
And what is that called?
So it's called the Avant-Garde Underground.
I love that.
I do too. It feels very artsy. And it looks very artsy when you walk into it, Lisa has her micro museum downstairs in the downstairs like lobby area when you walk in.
I love that because everybody has to see it to get to whatever they're doing.
I love it too because it definitely meets our needs of educating the community. And I love education exhibits, and I love telling the story and the history. So tell us about what this exhibit is about.
The Topeka project focuses on the native origins of Shawnee County and Topeka, the fact that 5 tribes ceded land for Shawnee County and Topeka to exist, and the people that were involved in that. And so there's a lot of history jam-packed into this little micro museum, but it also then is a place for gathering and networking of native people that live here today.
Yes. So it's right there. As soon as you get down the stairs, you have an opportunity to really read that history and listen to that story that's being told. Then you walk into the creative artist common space, the Avant-Garde Underground. And when you first walk in, you're into this like little black like brick studio area. Like it's very tiny, and you feel like you're walking into the underground.
It even goes.
It does slope down a little bit. So funny thing is about that renovation project, like that space alone had about a 3-foot concrete slab in that whole area.
Wow.
And we had to dig it out in order for that to actually be useful. That basement area used to look like a dungeon, really. Like you had to climb over this 3-foot concrete slab just to get into the middle room.
Wow.
So
that wasn't ADA compliant.
No, not at all. But so then when you get into the main commons area, it kind of branches off into these different locations. And we did a fun project last year that you also helped with painting the stripes to kind of show you where to go. But
it's like a real underground, like the subway lines.
Yes. So you get into the center of this commons area, and you have artists who are working on projects down there. So we currently have about 14 artists who are a part of our co-op membership program, and we have such affordable membership opportunities. It's literally $25 a month to come down and utilize the space and work on your projects and have like a home base in the arts district.
Well, what I love about that membership too is it does include hours of classroom use.
Yes.
And it includes being able to display your art. So, I know there's a couple of people that are talking about working together and displaying their art and using the classroom to have a little reception and actually be able to have the opportunity to have their own exhibit, their own show. You can't do that anywhere in the United States for that amount of money.
No, you can't. I mean, we really do provide some great opportunities for artists. And that was really important for us when we were deciding, like, what's the mission of the basement, you know, and how can we continue to elevate the artists that we have in our community and give them the tools and support that they need so they can be successful. So yes, that was like super important for us to offer affordable spaces. And you're right, like the classroom gives them wonderful opportunities to teach throughout the month. They get a set amount of hours that they can utilize the classroom. And, you know, that gives them opportunities to grow, put some money in their pockets. Also, like, it's a benefit for us to say that we have classes that are happening outside, you know, or inside of the art center. And, you know, we're bringing in community.
Yeah, and there's groups that regularly meet there too.
Yes, there is. And I love that too, because, you know, they have a set time that they come in every week for a couple of hours and they paint together. And, you know, they have their own little community too. So it's just a really wonderful space, a creative space that's really getting utilized. And on top of that, like, we have these two really nice studio spaces down in the basement. And you came to the organization with this wonderful idea of utilizing those spaces for a resident artist. So, so tell me about that. Like,
yeah, you know, artist residencies come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And obviously, we don't have the space to do a full residency where somebody lives there and takes showers and, you know, cooks. But we do have the space, the studio space, to offer somebody who's local that already has a place to stay. And so I started thinking about the benefits that, you know, because usually a residency, there's a give and take. There is a small staff on the NOTO Arts Center, always use more help. And so the resident program gives somebody the opportunity to have a studio space and do some work in the Arts Center that benefits the Arts Center, but benefits the artist by learning the environment and how to deal with the public and other artists and how to hang an exhibit, how to curate materials, you know, just all sorts of things. And excuse me, so there was you know, we came up with the standard kind of proposal that they needed to make to apply to be a resident. And the hardest part of it was there were so many good people that qualified and were interesting people that applied. Because originally it was just going to be one of the studios.
Yes. You're right. So Lisa was originally having her gallery space inside one of the studios. And then we had another organization called Mad Marketing that was helping us with marketing. And they were inside of the other studio space. And this was a good transition for you because you kind of wanted to make a different move with what you were doing anyways. And so, you know, with some adjustments and stuff, you opened up the micro museum and the other space and gave up your studio space. And Mad Marketing was also willing to let go of their space because they weren't really utilizing it. So when it came down to what artists do we choose for the residency, we were able to actually choose the two of them that we were struggling to decide with. So it worked out really great. And I will tell you, like, these artists are phenomenal.
Yeah.
They really are. Like, they are already great artists, but just in the first couple of months that we have been working with them, and, you know, going over their goals that they have and what they want to try to accomplish with this residency, I have seen some amazing things come from both of them. Like, they're both really involved. Pradeep Bangalore is one of our artists, and he, you know, is volunteering every month at the Art Center. He is working on multiple projects that he wants to accomplish.
Yeah. He does so many different types of art. It's amazing what comes out of his mind.
It is. And, you know, what we have found is that, like, we are able to help him feel like he has the space to do this thing and the support. So he came to us the other day and has this wonderful idea for a sculpture project. and I didn't even know that he did sculptures, you know? And so talking through that whole process, we also came across a call for art for sculptures out of Wichita right
perfect.
now. And so, you know, just that creative conversation led to this other conversation about how you could actually do this and put together some proposals and, you know, take another direction with your art that you hadn't even thought about, right? So Jordan Brooks is our other resident artist out of the space. And Jordan has spent some time just this last month helping us to prime the Kansas Avenue Bridge, because that's another big project that we have on our plate as an organization. And we'll get to that in a minute. But he is also starting on the first phase of that. And on top of that, like, Jordan is down there creating in his space all the time, coming up with, you know, new goals for what he wants to do with teaching his art classes and just his body of work that he's putting together. So
he's so fun. He's added this whole new dimension to it, you know, where he, like, it seems like you're in an artist space. I went down there and there's all these little signs, handwritten signs, cool art this way. Yep, this way, you know, and here.
Just keep on going. Yeah. He, you know, he's been very good about like engaging with the community and being a good ambassador for the organization. So the art center has, you know, really evolved over the last few years, and I'm so proud of where we have come today. And the fact that
where's it going?
yeah. So, you know, where is it going? We're doing so good right now. And one of the things that I love about the space that we are utilizing is just here recently, we have started to elevate the gallery spaces that we're doing. You know, just this last fall, we brought in the exhibit from the Chicago Field Museum about the Day of the Dead. We are opening our new exhibit next month, the Toshaka. And, you know, that is a sister exhibit to the Smithsonian traveling exhibit that's coming through for Americans. And so, I mean, I love how much we have elevated the programming that comes out of the Art Center. And we have done that a lot with your help.
Oh, thank you.
You know, Lisa has taken on the role of helping to curate the gallery exhibits, and that has helped to free up my time to do some additional things that are necessary for the organization. But you know, she also has this very creative mind and ideas on what we can do to utilize that whole space. So why don't you talk a little bit about that? Well, so
I'm glad we're not live.
So what have you done for, so tell us about the Americans exhibit that's coming up.
Okay. Yeah, the Americans exhibit is a full-fledged Smithsonian exhibit in Washington, D.C. at the National Museum of the American Indian. It's a huge exhibit. It's almost a full floor there at their museum. And it is very professional, very just, it makes you think about so many things that every day we walk through the world and we see things that are named after Native Americans or use Native imagery or words that everybody pronounces wrong and it's become the common pronunciation for, or all sorts of things, even tomahawk missiles, you know, just all these things. And that's all very well told and pointed out in this exhibit in Washington, but at the same time, they educate you on the origin of that, what it really means, why those things, why the Land O'Lakes girl isn't on the box anymore, you know, and educates people on that. And it gives there's some interactive parts with it too, where the public gets to speak out. And when I went to Washington and visited, I was really shocked by one of the comments the public left, that she's like, yeah, I live on a street called Indian Circle or something, Indian something. And she goes, I never even stopped and thought about it having anything to do with Native Americans, you know? And I'm like, wow, you know, like that's a severe case of, you know.
Right.
So this exhibit brings all this out. And the Smithsonian, along with Humanities Kansas, and Humanities all around the country, have this opportunity where some organizations that are large enough facility-wise get a traveling version of that. And then organizations that are more on our scale have the opportunity to develop a regional version. You know, the things that here in Topeka that people don't think about or notice, like the Chiefs Drive-In sign at Walmart or
Right.
Burnett's Mound, you know, it's more than a tornado touchdown spot. So we're developing that along with, so it utilizes the whole space like you're talking about.
Yep.
That exhibit will be interactive. It's in the Red Bedroom, and then in the Morris Gallery will be an actual exhibit of authentic Native American art that's not stereotypical kind of representation. So there will be like a full-fledged experience along with programming of, I mean, we're even at we have, one of the great things NOTO has is the mobile munch, the food trucks in our courtyard area every first Friday. So first Fridays during this exhibit, we're going to make sure that there's indigenous food trucks there as well. So it like encompasses everything.
Yep. Yeah. So elevating the programming and the exhibits, you know, is definitely a goal that we still have that we want to work on, making sure that we're still doing that in the future. So, you know, all of the things that we have done over the last 15 years has really led us to this point today where, you know, business owners coming together, arts, you know, organizations and artists working together to develop this humongous sense of community for the arts. And then also, you know, involving our community, getting them to have an appreciation for the arts, understanding how arts is valuable for our city, and, you know, just kind of providing that community spirit for Topeka, right? So it's just been this phenomenal growth over the last 15 years. And to see that, you know, happen in our city that was kind of feeling a little stagnant there for a while and needed some direction and some movement. It's been such a wonderful thing to be a part of. And so today we have over 50, maybe 60 small businesses down here in the area. And that's everything from service businesses to artists to boutiques, antiques, you know, hair salons, multiple art galleries and creative spaces, nonprofits also. And, you know, we have worked really hard for like public art initiatives. We have so many public arts projects that we've done over the years and some big ones that are on the horizon, like painting the Kansas Avenue Bridge, doing some district beautification on the sidewalks with some murals. And, you know, we also, as an organization, focus heavily on, you know, economic development things. And so we're working with a developer right now to bring in some incubator spaces that would provide, you know, housing and a place to actually like open up a shop. We have over 70 pieces of public art located throughout the area.
Everything. And there's even a little tour you can follow.
Yes, you can do the Art Health Walk, which gives you a map of where all the locations are. You can get some healthy, active, you know, tips in there, and you can also learn about the art projects that were going on. And so it really is just this very vibrant space in our city that we have continued to like incubate and love. And we get almost 220,000 visitors annually to the Arts District, and a lot of that comes from the out-of-town area. Just the Art Center alone is on target to seeing 8,000 visitors this year.
Amazing.
So yeah, we are, you know, we're kind of a pretty big deal.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would like to point out, because I see, you know, some confusion sometimes over this. You know, Topeka's always been, like any city, especially cities with rivers, is there's always been historically like two downtowns, two centers of community. And Topeka was always that way. And then after the flood, or after the bridge fell, then they built the new bridge, and they sort of bypassed Kansas Avenue. Like you start out on the south side on Kansas Avenue, and you get on the bridge, and when you come off, you're on Quincy. used to be when you got off, you were still on Kansas Avenue.
Right.
So that caused it to become separated a little bit. And so a lot of times people will hear, because it's called NOTO, short for North Topeka. It's like Soho or WeHo or any of these places around the world. It's where it's located. That gives you immediately, you know where to drive to get to the Arts and Entertainment District. But that doesn't mean it's only for North Topeka. It's like you
Right.
said, when Heartland Visioning did this, it was because the people of Topeka wanted an arts and entertainment district. So this happened to be the spot that was prime, and people were already using it for art locations. And so it's for all of Topeka.
It really is. And, that brings back something to me as a reminder. The North Topeka area saw a lot of decline prior to the Arts District being developed down there. And a lot of that was because of the bridge collapse. It was a high crime area. The buildings were very run down. And so, this really redeveloped the north side for Topeka. On top of that, the north side of Topeka used to be its own city. It used to be Eugene, and it was annexed into the city of Topeka, I think, back in the 40s. But that is also kind of why we have these two downtown areas. But now, fast forward to today, we've got this vibrant arts district. We've got this, up and coming downtown area now, and we really have seen this wonderful development over the entire corridor of downtown Topeka. And if you haven't had a chance to come to Topeka and visit this arts district, you're not going to find an arts district like this, anywhere in a 4 or 5 hour radius. So really, it's a great place to be. Come on down to NOTO and enjoy everything that we have to offer, because once you get here, you're not going to want to leave.
That's right.
Well, thanks for joining us today, and we hope that you come back next time, because we're going to do a deep dive into Lisa's conversations about the Native American Indian Arts and Craft Act and some of the work that she does to help elevate the arts in our city.
This has been Art Attack Radio with Lisa Baker and Staci Dawn.